Welcome back to Light the Fuse, your one-stop shop for all things Mission Impossible related. Although at the time of this recording, Charles, we are a mere hours away from the digital release of Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Are you going to bite the bullet, or are you going to wait until physical media, as we've become re-emboldened by physical media thanks to recent developments? But are you going to pull the trigger? What are you going to do?
Well, I can tell you this. So by the time this episode comes out, Top Gun Maverick will be out digital release. And then what is it? Like it's a month or 6 weeks until it comes to Blu-ray?
I think it might be more than that. Yeah. It's November. It comes on Blu-ray. So
Well, I can tell you what I'm doing tonight. I'm actually going to see it in IMAX with somebody who hasn't seen it yet.
Where in IMAX is it?
It's playing at the theater near me, the new one, the AMC Topanga.
And you didn't invite me. Okay, well, this is something we need to address offline.
Hey, there's still seats open. I'm inviting you now. Come on, let's go. You want to go?
Let's go.
I'm so excited. I'm like really excited. I was listening to Jeremy Dillon's interview with Eddie Hamilton, our dear friend Jeremy Dillon. He talked to Eddie Hamilton on his show, and it's an awesome interview with Eddie. Of course, just more amazing stuff from Eddie.
Wouldn't you say Eddie is a dear friend at this point too?
I would say that, yes. And it got me so pumped to see it again. I'm so excited.
Wow. So you're gonna go see it, but are you're gonna buy it the minute you get home? If it's after midnight.
That's the thing. I don't know. I'm getting the Blu-ray because I'm sure it'll have more special features, and it'll probably come with a digital copy. So it's kind of a waste to buy the digital, but I also don't want to wait to watch it as much as I can over the next month.
Yeah, I fully have committed to a double purchase.
I'm just going to buy it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I think that's just the way it goes.
How many copies of Mission Impossible do we have? Let's just put things in perspective.
How many times have you bought the first Mission Impossible over the years? It's got to be at least like 6 times.
Yeah,
right? 4 at least. I mean, there've been like 3 or 4 Blu-rays alone.
Yeah, there's some movies that I feel like are, let's say, cursed with buying multiple times. I would say RoboCop. I've had that about six times. I feel like
Doctor Strangelove,
T2,
Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2. Yeah, Evil Dead 2 might be the winner, Charles. Actually, now that you say it, yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah, I have no problems.
Nope. I'm supporting that movie. I have no problem doing that.
No. But anyway, we're back in Mission Impossible Land this week. I hope everybody loved Maggie Q. We certainly did. And Charles, why don't you talk a little bit about our guest for this week?
Yeah, well, so we've got Tom Peitzman on, and we actually did this interview kind of a while ago before we did all the Top Gun Maverick stuff, and we had to push it back because of Light the Fuselage. And so anyway, it's finally coming out. It's a great interview. Tom is the VFX producer on Mission Impossible 3 and Ghost Protocol. Plus, he was a co-producer on Ghost Protocol. And in hindsight, I feel like we should have asked him the difference between what a VFX supervisor is and what a VFX producer is. I have an idea in my mind, but I don't know exactly.
I believe, can I venture a guess?
Let's hear it.
I believe the VFX supervisor actually kind of coordinates which vendors they're using and schedules and all of that, whereas the VFX producer, I think, is more in the trenches in terms of designing shots, working on previs, and the like.
See, I would guess it's kind of not that it's the opposite, but I think VFX supervisor is a little bit more of a creative job.
Interesting.
Because isn't that what John Knoll is and Roger Guyett? Like, isn't that what they were, VFX supervisor?
No, they are.
And I think VFX producer is a little bit more nuts and bolts of like coordinating, like on the ground, like who's doing this? You're gonna come over here and do that. Yeah, I'll help you do this, or what? You know, I don't know. We should have asked him.
We should have asked any one of the many VFX guests who we've had on the show. Didn't cross our minds. So
well, if they're listening, which they might be, they can let us know, and we'll clarify in a future episode.
There we go. But he tells a lot of great stories.
Yes, that's all that really matters. Is he tells great stories and talks about the way that they put these movies together with the VFX, and it's just awesome.
Can't wait. All right, is that it?
Well, do you want to do your brought to you by credits here? You want to do your favorite part of the show?
Obviously. This episode is brought to you by our good friend Jeremy Dillon and his podcast, My Favorite Album, which you already referred to. There is a Eddie Hamilton episode that everyone should listen to. It's really great. I also saw on social media today that he wished Casey Musgraves a happy birthday, but yet we still do not have her rankings.
So what is he wishing her a happy birthday for? He should be grilling her, just trying to find out what's her rankings.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't think about this stuff. So anyway, that's the one knock against him. Otherwise, we love him.
Thoughtless.
Yeah. My favorite album, Eddie Hamilton. Check it out right now. This episode is also brought to you by John B. and our good friend Elvis Ripley, and a new sponsor, Charles Suchet. So we're so lucky to have you. If you want to become one of these illustrious bunch, go to patreon.com/lightthefuse, and we'll talk about that a little bit more after our interview, but let's get into it. We are so happy to be joined by Tom Peitzman, who worked on Mission Impossible 3 and Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol in the visual effects department. What was your title exactly?
On that, I was a visual effects producer and co-producer.
Cool. Well, what was your relationship with the Mission Impossible franchise before signing on? I mean, did you watch the original show? What was your, obviously there are...
Yeah. I did see that, some of the original show, of course. And then, working in the visual effects side of things, I was constantly going through and watching, movies like this and worked with a lot of people who did Mission Impossible 1 and Mission Impossible 2. So when I was approached, for doing Mission Impossible 3 with JJ, of course, JJ Abrams was one of those guys. It's like, yeah, I'd love to work with JJ. And so I had the opportunity to work with him a while before that. And then this thing came up and I thought, I'd love to do an international road picture. And that's definitely what the Mission Impossible movies are. You're on the road, you're experiencing all kinds of crazy adventures. And I think that's some of the draw of the Mission Impossible movies, as well as being then a working crew member on it. It was a lot of fun just traveling the world. I think we did 3 round the world trips scouting on that movie. So there's always a lot of adventure that happens, not only on screen, but, in the trenches, actually trying to figure out how to get it made.
Well, was there a sort of specific ethos that you were trying to kind of follow through on in terms of the visual effects on the third movie?
The biggest thing about Mission Impossible movies is that, you want to have as many seamless effects as possible. And I think part of the charm of these movies too is doing visual effects up to the point of believability, and then you push it just a little bit further. And I think that's what makes it just a lot of fun. It allows the audience to really kind of you suspend belief a little bit more when you're kind of doing that type of thing. And when you've got things like Tom Cruise running on the side of the Burj Khalifa, people are going to go, okay, well, yeah, he's hanging from a rope, I get that, but you have no idea all the other infrastructure that's around it when all that is painted out or disappears. But, it's still Tom on the outside of this building doing these crazy stunts. Or on, like on Mission Impossible 3, when we were doing the bridge sequence, when there was the big missile attack and, Tom's running down and gets pulled into the car. All the things, we built that bridge in the middle of Calabasas in a field. And we had the superstructure and we had cars and big special effects where you're flipping cars over. And, I'll never forget where Tom is, he was trying to get the timing right when he got pulled into the car. And, the biggest thing about that was he was just slightly anticipating, which we all do. Of course, if you're going to get ratcheted into a car, first thing you're going to do is tense up a little bit.
Right.
I think the great thing about that was Tom finally said, you know what? Don't tell me when you're going to pull it, you're going to hit the button. And so, it's when all of a sudden he gets yanked to the side into the side of an SUV, it was completely, he didn't know when it was going to hit. And that's the take we used in the movie because it was so surprising to him as well as everybody else that it really worked. And when he looked at the video playback of that, he's like, yep, that's the take. That's the one we have to use.
Wow. So were the two biggest things in 3 were like you said, the bridge and then the stuff in China, right? Like him jumping off the building and all of that. Were those sort of the 2 big set pieces that?
Yeah, those are 2 of the really big set pieces. It was, I must say that the whole concept of him sliding down, the buildings in China, it was one of those. It was definitely a frightening experience. We built a great big section of that, but I remember being in Shanghai and standing on the tops of the roofs of those buildings as we're doing a lot of plate photography. That it was really a very challenging situation to work in. And when you're in the middle of a big environment like that in a country that is, has very strict limitations and rules and things that you have to abide by, to be given the permission to go up and do some of these things was really, really a challenge. I remember filming there with helicopters, and they had some incident way back, and so they were very skeptical about flying helicopters around the big buildings there. And so we were able to get cooperation, and we had the pilot, and it was a local helicopter, and we had one of our guys in the plane or in the helicopter with him and shooting plates. And I remember the next day we were ready to start the second day's plates. We really had 2 days that we needed to film them, and they said, well, they detected a vibration in the main rotors, and so we're grounded. So we're like, okay, well, how long do you think? And they said, well, we're not sure when those parts are going to come in. We said, well, can we have our pilot go and talk to them? And of course they allow that to happen. And they took the blades off the helicopter, and they basically they realized that the type of stunt flying we were looking to do was a little out of the wheelhouse of the pilot that was there. And so that was the last of the plate photography that we did. And they said, oh, the parts are probably going to take, many weeks to get. And so they basically were trying to figure out a way that they didn't have to fly the type of things that we wanted to do to get the plates anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. And so obviously you have the plates that are being shot in Shanghai, but the jumping off the top of the building, that was shot with crews and Ving Rhames on top of the parking lot at Universal Studios. Is that right?
It was the parking structure at Universal. It was like, okay, how are we gonna do this? Because we can't get him to actually be up there on the real building. And so it was the Universal parking structure that we had dressed portions of it for him to actually then do the wire work and do the major leap. And it's one of those big surprising ones too. The stunt guys, I love it when, Tom has his guy that's doing the rehearsals and everything. And, he's very, very methodical and he wants to know everything about every bit of the stunt. And so when his stunt guy does it for him at first to make sure that all the rehearsals go well, then Tom goes in there. And it's amazing how it's so dialed in at that point. But then Tom's always wanting to, make some adjustments and some tweaks to make it really even that much more interesting when you see it visually. And, he's always pushing the stunt guys because he wants to do it himself. And even though his double is up there, practicing, Tom's the one that you see on screen. He's the one that ends up doing those final few takes once it's all dialed in.
These days, if you'd done the same stunt, all the money would be going to painting out the giant minion behind him.
Exactly. You're so right.
We don't have enough money to get rid of that minion.
The minion has got to stay in the movie. We just ran out.
He's a part of the team. He's a part of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Was there anything that you guys plotted or storyboarded that didn't make it into the movie that you were really looking forward to doing?
I don't remember anything specifically that, that we did that, or we were hoping to do that we couldn't do. There's always things that end up on the cutting room floor, but I don't remember anything big specifically that we did. I think pretty much all the big major stunts that we did ended up in the film.
Well, speaking of things that didn't end up in the film that we are obsessed with, we got to ask you about the snow chase at the beginning of 4.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you?
Yeah.
The floor is
Yes.
yours, Tom. Go ahead. We want to hear every detail of this proposed stunt.
Well, it was one of those that, we thought we were doing something like that, but it ended up that it was not what they wanted to ultimately do. And so it was, it could have been cool. It could have been really cool. I know we worked on, some boards and some previs and all that kind of stuff, but it ended up just not being one of those things to make the movie.
We've seen photos of costumes. That's how close it got, Tom.
Yeah, it's funny how things like that you do a lot of planning, and then you start budgeting things out, and you start figuring out how you're going to make things work, and sometimes they just don't happen, as you guys are well aware.
Right. I mean, what was it like working with JJ? We've heard that did he animate one shot in the movie?
He did a couple of shots.
Okay.
And I must say, JJ's one of those guys. He is the quintessential multitasker. He's the guy that's on set he's got a crossword puzzle going. He's got his keyboard over on the side. He's talking with, Michael Giacchino, who's there dealing with some music stuff. He's then planning out the previs and working with previs artists that he's looking at review shots for. And then he's got Tom Cruise that's in front of him that is going to be acting in 30 seconds, and he just knows when to turn things on and when to turn things off, and as soon as it's rehearsals up, his focus goes completely on to what he's doing with that particular thing, and he does it impeccably well. And the thing is with with JJ too, he's so articulate that when he's working with the actors, or he's working with the visual effects team or the stunt people, he's really, really clear on what he's looking to do. And I think that's a mark of a really, really good director, is when you can get somebody like that is really making decisions very carefully and very thoughtfully. But how he can do all those things at the same time, I have no freaking clue. His brain is just moving a million miles a minute.
As a visual effects artist, though, how would you rate him?
It's funny. How would I rate him? He sucked. I'd never hire him again. The thing is, he just wanted to learn. He just wanted to figure out how to do a composite and do one well. And he did. There was actually blood splatter in the cockpit of the helicopter on, I think it was Kerry Russell and Tom Cruise's face, if I remember specifically. And so he did we had to remove some blood because there was actually too much blood. So he did a couple of paint outs. But I think one of the fun tidbits is one of the artists that was up at ILM that was kind of teaching him how to do all the things that he needed to do the shot. He asked, the artist said, it was so much fun working with you. And JJ goes, well, how can I repay you? And he goes, oh, I don't need anything else. And he goes, no, seriously, what would you like to do? And he goes, I want to walk on part on Lost. And sure enough, they got a walk on part on Lost.
Wow.
The artist did. It was really very fun.
That is amazing. I give that artist credit for dreaming so big. I would have been like, exactly. Hamburger? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Send me some cash.
Yeah. We had Roger Guyett on the show.
Oh my God. He's the funniest man ever.
Who knew that he could have so much personality? I was just wondering what it was like working with Roger, because we fell in love with him just talking to him on the show.
Oh yeah. Roger, he is just an absolute hoot. I'll never forget, we were in London for some reason. No, I'm not sure if it was London, but we were in Europe, and he all of a sudden comes in the next day, and he's like, his face is all torn up, and what the hell happened to you? And he said he had a fight with his electric razor because it was plugged in to the European voltage. And the thing just absolutely ate his face.
Wow.
And he was just he was all cut up. But he's just one of those guys who is just he's brilliant, and he really knows how to push the envelope, and he knows how to get the best out of people. And when JJ would come to him with ideas and concepts, Raj would always come up with something unique and fun, and was able to kind of put his stamp on the movie too. And he started directing a lot of second units too, because he's just so good at what he does.
Yeah, we might have to email him about his razor fiasco.
Oh, you got to ask him about the razor.
I hope there are
yeah,
pictures.
We'll bring it up.
You got to ask him.
Yeah.
Ate him up.
So yeah, Charles, did you have any other questions about 3? I was going to move on to 4.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Brad Bird, because you had you talked so much about working with JJ. What's it like to work now with Brad Bird on Ghost Protocol?
Bird's he's a lot of fun too. And what was interesting is this was really Brad's first big feature film outside of animation. And I was fortunate enough to work with them twice, that and then Tomorrowland. But it was really, I think it was just getting in his head the concept of, you have to make decisions very quickly in a live action feature film. Whereas when you're doing an animated film, you have a lot of time, and it goes in front of the brain trust, and then they rewatch things, and you're re-editing, and you're constantly moving things around and doing that. Where with a live action film, you don't have that luxury. You have to commit to things. You have to be able to come up with concepts that are what he's looking for, and then we have to figure out how to make it work, right? And I think with Brad, the one thing that is so great is his ability to communicate. If he isn't able to tell you exactly what he's looking for, because he is looking for something very, very specific. If he's not able to do that, he'll just whip out a piece of paper or just any scrap of paper, and he'll just draw it. And he'll just go like this. This is what I'm looking for. Here's the composition. Here's what I want to see in this part of the frame, and da 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 da. And that makes it so much better, because so many times you have a director on set who has trouble communicating the very specifics of what he's looking for, even though he has it in his head. And with Bird, and you're able to see that very clearly. And I think the great thing about working with Brad is, with a storyboard and then previs phase, when you board things with Brad, that's his wheelhouse. He knows that so well that he will go and you'll see the sequence before you're even there. And then when you previs it, he sees it come to life, you then get the timings of it as well. And it's interesting, when you take some of the sequences in the movie, you can line up some of these sequences almost frame for frame with the storyboards and the previs. And so when you have department heads that you're relying on for special effects makeup and stunts and big special effects for rigging and things like that, when you have a director that can give you that and you're going to stick to it, you can really plan things out very, very well. There's many times with many directors where I've shown up on set and we've got the previs and it's up there on the monitor and everybody's looking at it and like, okay, great. So here's what we're going to do, you guys. We're going to work on these 3 shots in this part of the sequence. And the director goes, no. We're looking that way, not this way. 180 degrees from what you thought it was is what we're really going to be doing. And Brad's not that kind of guy. Brad really, he pretty much stuck to the plan.
I think that what we're getting here is that Ethan's drawing ability in the movie, when he draws on his hand, is this inspired by Brad Bird?
It probably was inspired by Brad.
Wow. We love that. We love Ethan's artistic side.
Yes.
He drew on the window in 3. He does it on his hand in 4. Comes back in 5. I mean, yeah. Do you have a Brad Bird impression? Because a lot of people do, and so.
Oh, I would never do a Brad Bird impression.
Okay.
He would.
All right.
But I must say, I have some original Brad napkin sketches that are some of my favorite things.
Oh, wow.
Things that I've held on to.
What was he sketching? Was it stuff for the movie specifically, or just doodles, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it was doodles, and sometimes it was things for the movie. And I'm like, okay, Bird, you need to sign this one. This one's really good.
You should get him framed. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how this picture here, this was in the garage in Mission Impossible 3. That was in Tom's in Tom's, kind of fix-it garage, if you will.
Is that where when he's looking at the disposable camera to get the mission?
Exactly. So it was a little gift I was given as a memento. So kind of cool.
What is this? This is a framed photo of a car? I can't quite see.
Yeah, it's a Porsche. Yeah, it's a Porsche, and it's like 1963. It's like the Pan American Road Rally.
Okay.
Just be honest with us, Tom. Is that photo property of Paramount Pictures? Are we going to get...
Nope.
Okay.
You won't.
Just want to make sure if somebody comes and knocking. I don't know nothing about that picture.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, it's going to be confiscated from my home.
I imagine, speaking with Brad, too, on animation terms helps a lot when planning visual effects and obviously dealing with ILM again for Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. And with Brad, I mean, it's a vernacular he's familiar with. And that makes it so helpful. And working with artists, when it comes to composite artists or animated, animation artists, whatever, that are actually doing these sometimes great big composites, you'd be watching a visual effects shot back in post-production, and Brad would go, yeah, around frame 13, there's this da-da-da-da, and like, what did you just say? Frame 13, not 12, not 14? And he goes, yeah, probably about frame 13. And it's frightening how many times he was damn close within a frame or two. And as you guys know, 24 frames a second, your chances are not good to get it that precise. But Brad, that's the way his brain works. That's the way he thinks. So it was fun to be able to watch reviews, and it was frustrating as hell because there were many times where it's like, we don't see what you're seeing. And he would literally frame through it and go and stop on something, go, this there up in the upper right-hand corner. See that right there? And we're like, oh yeah, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, Paul Hirsch told us that they watched the entire movie like that, frame by frame. Yeah.
Over and over and over again. Paul was a very patient man.
What about teaming up with John Knoll, veteran of the series?
Oh my God, John Knoll. John's the best. He's one of those guys that is also brilliant. He just can't sit still. John's the kind of guy that's always tinkering. I'll never forget when we were working on the movie, and he goes, "Oh, Tom, look at these old servers I got from ILM that they're decommissioning, because they constantly run through cycles of machines, and then they name them all. They're all like, these are land speeders, or these are whatever character or whatever ship in the Star Wars franchise." And they put a little logo in the bottom right. And he goes, "Well, what I want to do is, I don't want the computers themselves, so ILM gave them to me. So I just take all the faceplates, and in his office, in his house, he's got these faceplates of all these different computer systems that he's wired with LED lights. So it looks like his entire wall is just processing information all the time. And he's that kind of guy."
Wow.
But, he'll be on the set, he'll be working, and I'm like, "What are you working on right now? And, which shot are you on?" And he goes, "Oh, no, this is the title sequence for," what was that anime? God, I'm blanking on the name of it. It was an all animated movie. It was kind of like with Paramount. And there was a huge title sequence that he had, and he did the whole thing himself while
Rango?
he was working on the stuff. Rango, thank you. Very good. Which is it was like some crazy 10,000 frame shot that, he's rendering on procs at his house, at ILM, on his his personal laptop, on his one in his office, all at the same time. That's just the way John works.
Wow.
He's a nut.
Wow. back. How you feeling, Charles?
I feel great, Drew. I think we covered a lot of great topics with Tom. I thought it was interesting to hear that I feel like we've had multiple people who have worked on both 3 and Ghost Protocol, and it's always interesting to hear the differences that people talk about between JJ and Brad Bird as directors.
Yes.
And they're both so sharp in very different ways, and it's just always fascinating to hear about that.
Did we get a Bird impression out of him?
I don't think we did. I don't remember, but I don't think we did. We need to. We're due for a Brad Bird impression. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We have many in the past. If you haven't listened to our old episodes, go check those out because there are a lot of Brad Bird impressions in our back catalog. But I love to. I want to see some of those napkin sketches that Brad Bird did that Tom said he has. He's got to send some of those.
We should follow up with him actually.
Yeah, I want those. We'll try to see if we can. If we get any pictures of them, we'll put them in our show notes. But no promises.
Should I tease a little something for next week?
Oh, what are we teasing? Sure.
Well, isn't this the interview where we learn a little bit more about a little something called the Haunted Mansion?
Is it? Does he talk about that? I know he talks about Ang Lee's Hulk next week, and that's really interesting.
Maybe it's not. God, we've talked to so many people. My mind is turning into jelly at this point.
Can't even keep track. Hey, look, it's over 200 episodes. I think it's okay for you to, have your mind slip a little bit.
There might be a Haunted Mansion anecdote. There might not be. Who's to say? But maybe
come back to find out if there is one.
Come back to find out. What else, Charles? What else should people be doing in the long run up to part 2?
Well, they should sign up for our Patreon. If you don't already, sign up for our Patreon. It's patreon.com/LightTheFuse. We do bonus content every week. If you sign up, you will get all of our bonus episodes. I think someone said to us recently on social media or whatever that we have had over 200 bonus episodes as well. That's just scary. I don't even want to think about that. They're not numbered, so I have no idea. But
we like to keep it that way.
That person might be right. I have no idea. It might be 100, maybe. I don't know. But there are a lot of bonus episodes. So if you've gone through all of our show and you need more, then that's the place to do it. Patreon.com/LightTheFuse. And then you can also sign up at a higher level and be a part of our bonus Zoom chat that we do every month with a lively bunch of wonderful people that we talk to there. That's just awesome. So sign up, please. Also, check out our website, lightthefusepodcast.com. If you go there, you can check out the episode guide and see show notes for all of our past episodes. It's a great visual companion to our show. And then also click on the merch tab, and then that'll bring you to our TeePublic page, which has shirts and magnets and pins and masks and whatever else you want. That helps support the show. And I guess I've got some thank yous I've got to give. I want to say thank you to Mike Brown and Winston Riggs and Nathan Lawrence, and a thank you to our friends in Texas. That was what someone asked us to say to thank our friends in Texas. That's kind of fun.
I love that we have friends in Texas.
Yes, and you were born in Texas, right?
I was.
So you're a friend from Texas.
Yes, correct.
So yes, to our friends in Texas, thank you as well. So and then also this episode was edited and mixed by Luke Burson, and the music was by Kevin Blumenfeld. So thank you to Luke and Kevin as well. Yeah. What else, Drew?
Well, I just want to encourage people to follow us on social media at LightTheFusePod on Instagram and Twitter. And also to like, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening to this podcast. And also just tell people about us. We still need a lot of word of mouth. I don't think we quite, broached the mainstream bubble with the 200th like we were hoping for. So we need your help still.
Yes. Please spread the word. We haven't reached everyone yet.
No, we're still toiling in obscurity, and we would like to not be there anymore. So please tell people about us.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. And we'll be back next week with the second part of Tom's interview.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcast@gmail.com. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.